to see it executed the way it was blew my mind, because I'm thinking in my mind, the back of my head, they're going to value engineer this. This isn't going to be as impressive,
Right.
or whatever. They pulled it off. It's impressive.
It's a modern marvel of engineering.
It really is.
The attention to detail is out of this world. As soon as you walk in, there's these huge statues, and it feels so immersive.
The level of theming, and as you explore the park, I think guests will just be, blown away.
Welcome back to Experience Imagination. I'm your host, Audrey DeLong, and boy, oh boy, do we have a humdinger of an episode for you all. When was the last time you heard that word? Humdinger, by the way. Anyway, that'd be a great name for a coaster if you ask me. Today, we are going to dive into all things Aquarabia, the largest water theme park in the Middle East. This one-of-a-kind experience is located next to Six Flags in Qiddiya City in Saudi Arabia. Falcon's master planned the park and designed the attractions, then acted as creative guardian throughout the build and on-site installation. To kick off the episode, 3 of our designers and artists, Andrew Tober, Eric Loperena, and Bruce Sereta, share what it was like to finally see their vision become reality when Aquarabia opened to the public in mid-April. We talked about challenges related to designing the park's massive icon, Camel Rock, as well as how excellently crafted the animal rock work is. My second guest is Saroosh Shadid, a content creator and American expat who currently lives in Saudi Arabia. She has learned a lot in her 8 years in the country and was happy to tell me what the kingdom has to offer, especially in the way of entertainment. It's more than you might think. Saroosh went to Aquarabia and told me all about her experience as a guest at the park. Finally, you'll hear my conversation with Brian Machamer, park president of Six Flags and Aquarabia, Qiddiya City, who talks about the spectacular offerings at both world-class parks and what the emotions are like on opening day. That must have been really something. He also goes into detail about operational considerations for desert-based parks and a whole lot more. So settle in and enjoy the ride. So I am with Bruce, Andrew, and Eric now. Hey, guys.
Hey. How's it going?
Hey.
How's it going?
We're going to talk about Aquarabia and if you've seen any of the photos and videos and just the general excitement about the park opening. But first I want to ask you, Bruce, let's start with you. What was your role on Aquarabia?
I was senior concept artist at the time and worked on most of the artwork, preliminary drawings and sketches all the way through to the key art at the end.
And they are excellent.
Oh, thank you.
I
had a lot of help. We have a good team.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I for this podcast interview, I looked at a lot of that, going back, taking a trip down memory lane. Excellent job on all of that work. Eric, what did you do?
I was a senior design manager at the time, and my role and my responsibility was taking the concept and developing schematic drawings to basically take what these incredibly talented artists would produce and making it buildable. So producing everything from master planning, elevations, details, interior design, hardscape design. Shall I go on? Lot of that.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
You had a lot on your plate. Andrew, what was your role?
At the time, I was a creative manager, which kind of involved everything from working with the artist and trying to get key art and things working together, even to working through schematic design. So there was a lot of everything from just, rough sketches to show intent to some 3D modeling, and then working with Eric and team to get the CAD put together for later phases of the design.
Okay. So I shared a lot of articles with you guys when the park opened, videos. You guys probably saw Instagram posts and whatnot. People are there. People are enjoying it. They have been for a couple months. So what are your initial thoughts and emotions?
Initially, it was surprise at just how accurate and how cool everything looked and true to our initial intent. But it was a sense of pride, too, to see it. It really was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's always wild when you're scrolling through Twitter or X or whatever it may be, and you see something that you worked on out in the wild. And that's always a really cool thing, is especially when you're not expecting to see it and be like, oh, wow, I worked on that. Or even like showing your family kind of thing.
Yeah, you recognize it.
That's a big thing too. It's like a lot of this stuff, you really can't go into detail with your family or your friends. So it's always great to have that feeling when you see something online, you're like, I worked on that. See, that's what I did. And then you can kind of start to tell stories about it because, legally NDAs or like, there's certain things things you still can't talk about, but at least you can talk about what everything that's in there.
This park in particular, I think when we left it, seeing the end result was very satisfying because I think it was executed very well.
And seeing people's reaction, they seem very genuine. So to see them enjoying it and really having a good time with it, that validates everything.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, the implementation and the execution is so close to the design, and I'm wondering if that's common.
I could speak to that. So it is when you have the right team together. And I think this project in particular, between, of course, the creative, our design here at Falcons, the client, Qiddiya Investment, did an incredible job. And then, of course, the vendors that we worked with, Whitewater and the rest of the group. For a project to succeed the way it did and the way it was so well executed, everybody has to believe in the vision and everybody has to kind of be committed to it all the way through, from concept all the way through to opening day.
Yeah, and we also had creative guardianship and art direction on site throughout.
Which is huge.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah.
There was drone footage of on site that they were taking, probably for, just, record taking or maybe even promotional videos and later on. But that was when we really started to see it and be like, oh, this looks a lot like what we did. There's no cutting corners here.
Yeah, that was the first time we actually began seeing it coming out of the rock work.
Yeah.
And taking shape and realizing that it was coming right in target with what we had in mind.
Yeah, one of the rides, there's an area of the park, there are 8 animal-themed zones. One was called Viper Canyon.
Yes.
So there's a thrill ride in Viper Canyon. It looks like they're coming like through the mouth and the fangs of the viper.
Yes, yeah.
Pretty cool.
That was a fun one to work on too. I think that was one of my favorites, honestly, outside of Camel Rock. Just working on that one because of the Viper design and everything and seeing it executed out there. Was
You
like,
actually... Yeah, even that one, you have that queue that kind of goes outside, then it kind of goes under some rock work, then you have to go up to the, so it's really a cool layout. And then just the look of the Vipers, like you said, on the rock work. So
yeah, I saw some footage of somebody rising up and the Viper snake head is right above him and he looks up like that and you see that massive sky. That was just a really cool moment.
That's a cool shot.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the design, but first I'm going to look at my paper because I want to get this quote right when writing about Aquarabia. Forbes magazine stated, "The design deserves attention." And they're not the only ones who have said that. There are so many media outlets that have called Aquarabia one of the most impressive, innovative parks ever built. So what makes this destination so special?
I would say it's a combination of multiple things. Honestly, I think location, essentially taking the Grand Canyon and cutting it in half. And you've got this beautiful backdrop and this facade. The story that was created ties into that. And we embrace the idea of carving away, that's something that reveals itself, right, from that rock work. That in itself, outside of the fact that it's, we've got world record-setting slides in Camel Rock and a couple of other places, tying that in with the story, the visuals, the immersive themed overlay, I think that it's kind of a great combination.
Yeah.
Even at, 260 some feet or
the mountains behind it are
50,000
200 meters tall.
Yeah.
It's insane.
They dwarf.
And the Camel Rock was massive. It's 80 meters tall. And then you have this big backdrop that almost dwarfs it, which is the 200 meters. And it just makes this ultimate, really great scenic backdrop. And it works with the theme because you were going into the story is that the whole concept of this is that it's a oasis kind of in the desert, and
may have always been there.
And it's always been there, and
it's revealed from the winds and the vision.
And so there was a lot of care taken down to the specifications of the rockwork and everything. That sculpted concrete rockwork looked just like the mountains, so that
it looks like it belongs right in
exactly. So it doesn't feel anything out of place, and it's also too. I guess that's the thing is, it sets up the mood, the atmosphere. That it's not like if you went there and they're just giant, plastic colored slides and everything like that. The rock work there helps it blend in with the atmosphere, which is a whole big part of the intent for the whole thing. So
right from concept, that was the one breakthrough. Honestly, when we were working with client about story, I remember Cecil and the creatives getting together. And,
they were. There was initial push was for IP to be in the park, but eventually, Cecil had the great idea of like, no, let's make this its own IP. Let's make it its own thing. And so they blended in with not only the rock work, but the culture, which was another thing that we had to kind of learn more about. And
there was a lot of learning.
I think part of why the Forbes and people that are reviewing the park are just wowed by it, because once you actually go there and you see this scale, it's truly something you can't do anywhere else on Earth.
And it is extreme, everything about it. The park itself, the size, the scope, the location.
For sure.
It's just a wow
Yeah.
everywhere you go.
Absolutely.
Well, you talked about the story. I mean, when you go to any kind of water park, there's no story. There's just
Not usually,
exciting slides.
Yeah.
And so talk about the generation of the story ideas and how the animals fit in the Saudi culture.
This one we kind of decided to celebrate the culture there, the mountains, the animals in the area, the local animal, the indigenous
History.
animals. Yeah, the idea is that you have these animals that are in the rockwork and everything, and that was one of the things that we really tried to convey is that, like, in Bruce, you hit on it earlier. It's like, this isn't something that was like sculpted by man. This is something over thousands of years. The rockwork has formed in these formations of these animals. It's not like some man-made thing. It's literally this magical nature. Exactly. The camel rock draws you in. You see there's an opening. You go in there, and there's this whole new world once you go in there. A grand reveal where you come in. There's this massive, I believe it's like 30-meter waterfall inside that's falling down. There's planks and boardwalks going all the way up. So there's
Hidden caves.
Yes, exactly. There's caves.
It's
there's
so
interactives.
high, you have to take an elevator. The only water park that I know of that you would take an elevator to
Right.
get on one of the rides. Usually you walk up those steps forever, and here you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Thank goodness. It's 200. Camel Rock itself is 262 feet.
Amazing.
Yeah, and it's
26 stories.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Think about it.
when I remember working on this, Andrew and I were very close, attached to the hip when we were doing Camel Rock. Just the visions and working through it, and okay, this is going to work. This isn't going to work. See, at the end of the day, to see that interior, to see it executed the way it was, blew my mind, because I'm thinking in my mind, in the back of my head, they're going to value engineer this. This isn't going to be as impressive or
Right.
whatever. They pulled it off. I mean, it's impressive.
It's a modern marvel of engineering.
It really is.
Like,
I bet the complications behind that structure. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever, I know I haven't worked on anything, at least to date. There's stuff coming up, but I don't think I've worked on anything that complex, because I remember we're like, okay, well, we know we want to have something that guests can go all the way to the top. So how do they get there? So that was one of the things that I took, the program Rhino. I got a massing of the mountain, and I had to literally go in there and kind of figure out how this boardwalk winds all the way up to the top. There's actually a lookout that looks out over top of the park. There's a limb coaster that goes all the way up in front of it. And so really that was the thing that, again, kind of deep diving into what Eric was saying, we had to go in there and figure out how that works. And it's not just how that path works. How do they get to the 3 water slides inside there? How do you get from the restaurant to the top?
Yeah.
How do people egress out of that building?
Yeah.
It was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So again, like, that's one of the things that's just, it's what came of that and how complicated. And again,
And they liked the idea enough to actually build it.
yes,
Yeah, that's the
What that-
beauty of it.
Yes. Let's get into the rock work, because, we've been talking about the fact that it's not supposed to look like man carved it, but actually man did carve it. It's
Yes.
hand carved.
Yes.
All of this rock,
Absolutely. Yep.
which is like just so impressive.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
It's mind blowing. So, yeah, all of the creatures were carved by hand, and I'm sure a lot of thought and care went into the design itself. So, maybe was that one of the most important design aspects, was getting those animals right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember doing initial sketches, and I can't remember who it was that was visiting the office, but there was a meeting going on, and they presented them we did a number of different local regional animals, and they selected the ones they thought would work best in the park.
Oh, okay.
So it wasn't like we were selling them on. Well, they bought the idea already. We didn't have to sell them. We just had let them choose which ones they wanted to.
there's a kit of parts that we thought would work really well.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
they kind of select those. And again, like, the thinking of we wanted to use indigenous animals.
Yes.
So it was pretty slam dunk for there. And, also too, I'm sure it's getting like a variety. So you're not having like several different types of lizards
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think the concept of the animals within rockwork as itself sold so well. And it is a memorable experience. I mean, you talk about like how important it was to the park. Those are the memories that you have. I mean,
Yeah, and it's one more learning thing. You dive into this, you have to learn about the culture, the wildlife, the environment, the type of rock. I mean, we were schooled on that from the very beginning. There's a very specific look to that area. So in order to mimic it, when we did art, we had to use photos that were taken on a field trip out there to duplicate. I mean, we couldn't just put lava rocks in there or river rocks or something. So yeah, it was
We
very.
even had to put some diagrams, literally, like here's a mountain, and then like a call out that said, "This is what it looks at this level." Because it's literally
Right.
several thousand, even more years difference between this level of rock versus that. So it has a unique feel. Even too going into the caves, the caves had a little bit more of a water eroded, so it was
Softer.
smoother and softer. But then as you went up, it became more striated.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And
To
then-
show like the aging over time.
Yes, exactly.
The artist said hats off to them because when you're doing rock work like this, you have different levels. You've got the level that guests can touch, right? It has to be more concrete, hard. And then you go up, there's little secrets of the trade where
Get away with something.
Yeah, well, it's also like if it's hard sculpted foam, it doesn't need to support anything that's applied. It's lightweight, but to be able to make that look like what guests are like, the concrete based scrim coated rock work that guests are touching as it goes up, and then maybe it becomes scenic paint at the top. And so they did a great job of executing. And I think hats off to our creatives and the artists and the illustrators that created those concepts, and properly shepherding that into schematic, of course, is my role and responsibility. And then getting out there in the field in the art direction, it's like
Everybody did their job.
everybody did their job, and you see it at the end of the day.
So there are 22 rides in this park. Some of them are dry
Yes.
rides. That's what they say.
Which-
Wet and dry attractions. So for the listeners who might not understand, when you go to a water park, there are dry ride opportunities. What does that mean?
A lot of the rides were done specifically by whether it's how the ride vehicle was made or how the turns are done on the water, is that it wouldn't splash into the vehicle. So basically engineered it so that you can go on the water ride, and specific ones, not all of them, because obviously if you're going down a water slide and it's just a body tube kind of thing, you're going to get wet. But in this case, like you could be on the raft and the water wouldn't splash in, or you wouldn't have any kind of thing that would get guests wet. So that way, somebody who doesn't bring their bathing suit can still enjoy the attractions with their family.
All right. So as the park's attraction designers, how did we collaborate with the ride manufacturers?
That was an integral relationship in order to make this park a success. Whitewater did these slides, right?
They did a bunch of them in the Pro Slide.
Pro
had
Slide
also
was in
too
them.
done a
Yeah,
handful.
for sure. Yeah. But collaborating with them in sync from the concept to, we could use Camel Rock as a perfect example of that. Architecturally and engineering wise, it was a very complicated structure. To work with them to get these slides to work within this mountain-like landscape. When we do these things with consultants, it's like it's important that we keep that line of communication open always. You're kind of working through and solving these problems together.
It's always great because, especially when you have that open line of communication like we did, like we were able to communicate with them directly. So both groups were very great to work with, open to ideas, trying to help us out and figure out these things. And they were coming up with creative solutions and teaching us things about what we can and can't do, things like color selection of slides and things like that.
Yeah.
Again, one of the things I learned through that is, well, you can use, some of the blues, the cooler colors, but red's kind of a bad color to use in the sun because it fades pretty quick.
Right.
And then the red becomes pink. So hopefully you like your Barbie themed slide afterwards.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the reasons why the attractions are so unique, and you're seeing the response you are from media and from fans and everything. It's that integration of the slides within this really cool theming.
Again, going back to Camel Rock and just putting those slides in, because the one slide, the raft ride, actually goes completely around and through the whole thing. It's got those
cool.
uplifts and
I
everything
think
like
it's
that.
the tallest family raft ride too.
Yeah, you think you're right. And getting to the top of this is it's almost an adventure in itself, getting to the top of the raft ride or getting to the water slides and such, because you literally are going through nooks and crannies of the mountain, going up steps, and there's like these great peek throughs where you're actually looking out over top of it. So the beauty of the mountain and everything and the scenic
Not a
around
weenie.
becomes literally the theming of your cues. So it came out really well.
So you want to know what's around the next corner as
Yeah,
you're going up.
exactly.
I mean,
Yeah,
it makes it fun.
Yeah, there's something to be said about compression and decompression in design, and I think that was well executed in the design of Camel Rock, and that you're going through these caves, and then you have these reveals where you're looking out over the water park, and
You're
it's just
suddenly
like,
outside.
It kind of
And
creates
Right.
like
You're
natural
suddenly
visuals,
inside the cave. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Bruce, did you have a favorite zone that you drew?
I was able to be involved with the camel, so I think doing the restaurant up on top
Mm-hmm.
and the views. And yeah, that was fun.
Really, when you first walk in the park, and hats off for the Bruce for the epic design, is that you see that as you come in. It literally greets
Right.
you as you come in.
It's a landmark.
And eventually, hopefully, if you get to go to the restaurant, you actually. That's one of the things that you probably don't really get to see off the social media is once you go into the Camel Rock, you go up to the top, and at the very top, there's literally in the back of the camel, it's a beautiful restaurant that was kind of a great thing that exactly. Like I remember kind of we put that together. We did we did a master plan of what the layout could be.
Yeah, but just the idea of executing that, and getting service up and down through that rock work that was a challenge within itself.
That's
but,
epic.
Well, it's one of those things too. It's like the things that you don't realize happens behind the the curtain. Is that like you can't just have the people using the same way to get food up there that the guest would use. You have to have a back of house access to that. And how do people get up there? And how do you have that so that it's
And where do you hide it?
Right, and you can't just hide it and
In the
just tuck it
second hump
away
or something.
because it has.
Is it one hump or two?
It was one.
Let's make that clear. The Saudi camels have one hump.
That's another thing I learned.
Yeah, exactly. Or 3 humps. Who knows?
No, that's a Simpsons camel.
But not only does it have to have access to the back there, but it has to be a way that allows easy access for those back of house. So you can't have it be some sort of really tucked away, million miles to get there kind of thing. It has to be, work from logistics standpoint. There you go.
There's coordination with structural engineers and of course the architects and the master planners. Like there's a lot of coordination for that to be properly executed.
Yep.
And again, I think this is one of those situations where client and the consultants did value the creative intent, and they went to us. I mean, I remember doing a lot of sections of berms and like having access for back of house and like the layers of this park.
Yeah. We've talked about a lot of the bigger details around Aquarabia. So now I want to get into the smaller details. What are some of the smaller details you're excited for guests to find?
Kind of to explain the overall is that there's all the different zones in the park. Each zone has an animal, the local animal that is what that theme is. So if you go there, you'll see, like, for example, there's a desert cat, there's the fox or the dove lizard. Each area, when you go in there, you see, emerging from the rockwork, one of those animals. If you actually look at Camel Rock, it's actually a huge wayfinder because on the Camel Rock, at the very peak of it, is Bruce's camel, and then we'll call him Bruce for this case.
Okay, yeah.
Bruce the camel, and then all the other animals are actually on the mountain too, but the direction that the animal is facing is towards that zone. So there's like this little psychological effect that you don't realize that it's literally wayfinding, pointing you to where that animal in that zone is.
Okay.
So that's a very small detail that is probably not going to be necessarily picked up right away, but eventually you kind of can realize that.
Yeah.
So the head of that animal is pointing to where their zone is.
Exactly. They're looking out.
It's like a compass, basically.
Oh, neat.
I think the little details in the interiors as well. There's a lot of stuff that was executed from the original concept, right? I mean, and so to see some of the cabanas, for example, and to see some of the way it was executed in the interiors, I mean, they could have easily cut back, and we could have said, okay, this is just an area where you have a chair and you have this, but no, in this park, it's different. It's immersive. You got artwork and decor on the walls of these cabanas that make you feel like you're someplace special. It's not just like, a place just to sit and rest. So, I think that those details are important.
And even too, going back to the patterns and like you were saying, the paintings on the walls. Yeah. One of the other small details is each zone has its own color scheme.
Right.
So that's also too to help you as far as with wayfinding. Or so when you walk into that blue area, then you're in a zone. Then you go to the next one, has kind of a green and has this specific pattern. So you always had that little bit. Each zone had a little bit of feel because again you have the tying for all across the park, that this rockwork, the animals, but these were little details to help each zone feel more unique to itself.
Makes sense. This conversation was excellent. So thank you guys for taking the trip down memory lane with me.
Sure. You're welcome. It was fun.
We are here with content creator Saroosh. Hello. Happy to have you on the podcast.
Hi, I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
Well, thank you. We've been watching your Instagram and TikTok. You have a combined following of more than 50,000. You've racked up 2 million likes on your videos. So you talk about everything from Riyadh lifestyle, travel, experiences all across Saudi Arabia. Get Ready With Me. Most recently, you visited the one and only Aquarabia, which we're obviously going to talk about. But just before we get into that topic, why did you decide to become an influencer for those specific niches?
Okay, that's a good question. So I've actually have always been a very creative soul. I really enjoy creating and editing content. So anything allows me to express my artistic side, sign me up. So I just wanted to create the kind of content that I myself like to watch. I wanted to document and share my experience with the whole world. So many people actually have never been to Saudi or have any idea what it's like here. So I just wanted to share my unique lens with everyone, especially since I myself am from the US. I've spent my whole life there and I know all the misconceptions people have and just want to show them how great it actually is here. It's also incredibly important for me to enjoy what I do because if I'm not enjoying it, then why would I continue doing it, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. What do you think you've learned from tourism or about tourism content specifically like you create and being a storyteller for that region, that part of the world?
I think that people, again, like have so many misconceptions when it comes to life here in Saudi. I've experienced personally nothing but great things, truly, and I've learned so much from people, the locals here, and I think there is so much happening. There's so much to do, and the government is really putting in so much effort to create all of the wonderful experiences here that people used to once get outside of Saudi to go and experience.
So, how easy was it to become an expat in Saudi Arabia?
I actually, it was very easy for me because my husband already worked here.
Ah,
So he was working here. And after we got married, I made the move to be here with him and start a life here together. I was very, very nervous because, as I said, I grew up in the West and I've heard so many misconceptions and I believed them too at one point. So I was very nervous and I was scared about the language barrier, but you'd be surprised at how many people actually speak English. So it's not that tough.
well, that's always good. Yeah, I did read that a lot of
Yeah.
people speak English there. So that's
Yes, they do.
very helpful. So I'm guessing you went to a lot of theme parks when you were living in the US. How do those compare to what you've experienced in the Middle East?
So yes, I have been to so many amusement parks there, but I will say something that stood out to me a lot of Aquarabia that I've been to. I've also been to Six Flags recently. Is the cleanliness. It's super clean.
Mm,
The attention to detail is out of this world. As soon as you walk in, there's these huge statues, and it feels so immersive.
in Aquarabia, you mean?
And Aquarabia,
Yeah,
it's
the Arabian horses greet you at the entrance. Yeah, we're going to talk all about that park for sure.
yeah.
When I saw pictures of it in videos, I've been to water parks and even something called water theme parks, I guess, if you will. We have a
Mhm.
few of those here in Orlando,
Right.
and we're lucky enough to be able to experience those. But when I saw the pictures and photos of Aquabria, I was like, I don't know if anything like this even exists in other parts of the world that's that close to what we've pulled off there.
Yeah, it's very different, and so many aesthetic spots for pictures. It was amazing. I loved it.
Do you have a favorite spot inside Aquarabia?
That's a difficult question because all the spots are great. But if I had to pick, I think, as you probably have seen my video, right in front of the Hyper Viper ride, especially when the ride is coming down and there's like a splash, I think that is a perfect moment to take a photo. Also, right under the huge camel statue.
On Camel Rock, right?
Yeah, on Camel Rock. And then also right in front of the wave pool.
Okay.
I think those are my favorite.
Yeah, so there is a story like we talked about at Aquarabia.
Mhm.
It's an original intellectual property, if you will. The indigenous creatures of Saudi Arabia, they make up these different zones. Of course, you have the huge 80-meter tall, I want to say, Camel Rock Mountain, which has tons of rides through it. But there's zones for like just families, mothers and
Uh-huh.
children, and there's zones for just
Mhm.
adults, and there's zones for thrill seekers. So kind of set the stage for somebody who hasn't gotten a chance to go.
If I had to set the stage, I would say, like, as soon as you walk in, there's amazing music playing. There is huge statues. I really like how, they incorporated their culture into the vibe, the space, because you can see it throughout the architecture. It's very different from what you would see in other parts of the world. the Saudi designs in the buildings and even in the cabana, which we stayed at, which I really loved. That was a very fun experience. And just throughout, I loved how family friendly it was. They really took care of our little ones. They took care of anything that we needed. All of our needs were catered to. So the time we went, like all of the rides weren't open at that time. I think they were still doing safety tests on them, and some of them were still under construction. But we did get to experience some really cool rides throughout.
Yeah. So talk about the family friendliness and the being catered to, because one of your videos you did mention a butler, I want to say, and that's part of the
Yeah.
cabana service. So like this isn't
Yeah.
just like a pop-up tent. This is like a huge room, right? Is it
Yeah.
indoors? Is it air conditioning? Tell us about the cabana.
I love the cabana, and I didn't even think it was going to be as useful to us as it was. Like when they first, because we were invited there. I was invited there as an influencer, which I was so grateful for. So I went with my whole family, and we had a VIP experience. They offered us the cabana, and at first, my first thought was like, "Are we really going to be using it that much?" But we ended up surprisingly using it throughout our entire day. There's no bathrooms inside, but our children were able to change there easily. So anytime we wanted to change them for the pool or back to regular clothes, we took them in there. We ate our meals in there. So it was very cozy and peaceful to just unwind from all of the noise and excitement going on outside.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you talked about music playing. What kind of music do they play in the park?
I think it's very like, it's the kind of music that gets you, hyped, excited, like ready to, enjoy the day.
Unts, unts, unts.
Yeah, exactly.
The dance music.
Yeah.
Did your kids have a favorite ride?
Oh, my kids, actually, I think I had more fun than them in the kids zone.
Oh no.
The kids zone was really cool because they had like options for kids of every age. It wasn't just that, like older kids could have fun. It was literally for every age. There was actually 2 kids zones, I believe. One of them were for older kids and the other one was for younger kids.
Mm-hmm.
So they really loved it. It was super safe because everybody, there was lifeguards, like many lifeguards watching the entire park, making sure kids are safe. All the kids have life jackets if needed. Parents are watching. It was great. I loved it. And I could spend actually my entire day there instead of the other stuff.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's saying a lot
Yeah.
though. I mean, the decor around the park is so beautiful. Have you ever been to a park quite like Aquarabia where the aesthetics were so impressive?
I haven't, no. I mean, I've been to theme parks that have like Six Flags, Hershey Parks, but nothing like this with this kind of architecture throughout the park. And I loved actually my butler, the butler told us, I didn't know about this, that all of the statues, the animal statues there, they are actually animals that they saw in that area
Mm-hmm.
before the construction began. So that was very cool information.
Yeah, that's right. Well,
Yeah.
that's why we chose those animals. I mean, we hear the story in another part of the podcast where I talk to our internal members, but
Yeah.
we had a big list of animals, and then we whittled it down to those specific creatures. But they're all
Mhm.
indigenous species to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. That was amazing.
So even though you didn't get a chance to explore inside Camel Rock, you
Mhm.
still see it. It's the first thing you
Right.
kind of see when you walk in through the gate. What was your impression of it?
My first impression was, wow, it's even prettier in person.
Oh,
It's even, yeah, it was huge. And I was shocked to see that it was actually, like a rock. It wasn't like they made a statue and they just placed it on top. No, it was an actual rock that they carved and made into a camel. I love that.
yeah, it's amazing,
Right.
the artistry that went into this park. So, Saroosh, you mentioned you have 2 kids. As a mom, what do you
Yes.
look for in a water theme park or an amusement park?
The number one I think I look for is safety. It brings me comfort to see that the park and their staff also care about my child's safety as much as the parents do. If there's lifeguards everywhere, if they're checking to make sure kids are wearing life jackets, and if someone comes up to us and says, "Hey, this child needs to be wearing a life jacket," that lets me know that okay, they are actually paying attention.
Mm.
And I also really like calm spaces throughout the park because sometimes kids can get very overwhelmed with all that's happening, and they just need some time to unwind and just relax and calm down.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, those are the things I look for.
In your vlog, you recounted your experience, and the quote was, "It's the best water park I've ever been to." Why did you say that?
We really had a VIP experience to the fullest. I think like as soon as we entered, people were very attentive. Signs pointing us in each direction, letting us know what rides are located, where the kids zones are. The food was amazing. Usually when you go to these kind of theme parks or amusement parks, the food is just very mid. It's very average.
Oh, yeah.
But the food here was very good. It was delicious. We loved it. We've tried many things. We even got to try a lot of their drinks. And like even other than that, like just the attention to detail, them paying attention to us, to our children. Even the butler, wow, his customer service was out of this world. He explained all the rides to us. He explained at what time we should go visit what ride, what things to avoid. He was very, very helpful. So we loved his customer service. Actually, his customer service made the entire day better, much better.
Oh, yeah. Now, you said drink. So I know for a fact that Saudi Arabia does not serve alcohol.
Yes, they do not.
So, like, if you have international visitors coming to Aquarabia and Six Flags, are they going to be able to order alcohol?
No, there is no alcohol available there.
Okay. So when you say you tried some drinks, they were mocktails we're talking?
Yep, mocktails. There were so many different variations, different mixtures. And also just like fresh juices, which were great. They helped us refresh.
Mm-hmm. So speaking of international visitors, I know right now a lot of the visitors to Six Flags and Aquarabia are local. How would Aquarabia specifically cater to international visitors? What do you think they have to do or are doing now?
I think they are giving them a very unique experience by mixing luxury into amusement and theme parks, because that's not something you could actually find in the West. At least I haven't seen it. So it's a mixture of luxury and just tropical vibes, while also combining the desert vibes. So for sure, you cannot experience something like this outside of Saudi.
So I have this image that you're spoiled now because
I am, absolutely.
You're going to come back to America and you'll be walking around like somewhere at Disney and be like, "Where's my butler?" People are going to look at you like you're crazy. So, well, if you're talking to people who are visiting Aquarabia for the first time, what tips would you have for them?
I would say go early for sure, because I would be there as soon as the doors open, because you want as much time as you possibly can get. Wear comfortable shoes because you're going to be walking a lot. Have a waterproof phone case so you can just hang it on yourself and be able to record, take pictures while also enjoying the rides. Because we were in the wave pool, actually, my husband and I, and we had the waterproof phone cases. We were swimming around and taking pictures too. So our phone was completely safe. Yeah.
Now, it doesn't really get cloudy. Like there's no storms like we have in Florida that you have to dodge lightning bolts.
No. But we do get sandstorms.
Exactly. So that was my other question too, is like, are there warnings or does a sandstorm kind of come from out of nowhere?
No, there's no warnings because it happens so often throughout the day and they're not always so bad. Like it might sound like, oh my God, it's a storm, but it really isn't. It's sometimes just like a wave of lots of sand, and some of them could just be, passing by like a minute and then it's gone. Some of it does take longer. It just depends. So there's not really any warnings that go out, but normally they don't take that long.
Okay. So this is more about your channel, Saroosh, but obviously we did a lot of research for this podcast. We saw your vlog about Aquarabia. Do you want to give a special shout out to any of your followers on social, talking specifically about your experiences at Aquarabia, or just special shout out to them?
Yeah, I love all of my followers, all of like my audience. I love them very much. It's the reason why I continue to do what I do. I just love to share my lifestyle, my day-to-day normal days, as well as exciting days with them. And I love to see how much they love it too, because you'd be surprised at how many DMs I get saying that they're going to be visiting Saudi or they're going to be moving to Saudi because of my videos. And that makes it all the more special. Yeah,
Wow.
you'd be so surprised. Like there's so many girls who DM me and they're like, you know, I'm thinking about moving to Saudi with my family, and then some will be like, oh, we're actually moving because of your videos. And that really touches me. That makes me feel like what I'm doing, it has like such a, you know, positive effect and people are actually learning through my lens. I love that.
Yeah. Well, that is a huge impact to make.
Yeah, yeah, right?
Well, congratulations on that and all the success of your channel.
Thank
And
you so
thank
much.
you so much for joining us on Experience Imagination.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
We are now joined by Brian Machamer, Park President for Six Flags and Aquarabia. Brian, how are you?
Hello, Audrey. Doing well. Doing well. Thank you.
Six Flags opened on December 31st. So it's been
Mm.
open a few months, and it's the first Six Flags operation that operates outside of North America, or it's currently the only location outside of North
Right.
America. So I'm wondering, what was it about Saudi Arabia that got Six Flags' attention?
I think, back in 2019, we were really looking for international expansion, development opportunities. And I think when you looked at the Vision 2030 here in Saudi Arabia, with the support of the Public Investment Fund, the vision of His Highness, the scale of what they were building, to be able to join a project of that level and commitment at the highest levels in the kingdom was very attractive. And I think it's a lot of international development. The challenge a lot of time is finding the right partner long term. And we really felt that Qiddiya City and what the vision of the kingdom was, where they were headed, was a good fit for us.
This is amazing that Aquarabia is literally on the doorstep, basically. Can you kind of set the stage from a real estate perspective?
So the Qiddiya City development's massive. Eventually, it would all be connected by high-speed train from the airport. It'll take you literally 27 minutes to go from the international airport all the way to Qiddiya City through the center of Riyadh. We'll have metro line connections. For now, in the current phase that we're at, the area that we call the resort core consists of Six Flags, Aquarabia, hotels. We've got 6,000 hotel rooms under construction at the moment, opening in phases starting later next year. The F1 Speed Park, and a retail dining entertainment district that connects all of this together. So guests will be able to come in through mass transportation or personal vehicle, visit the various assets, but also easily move around through monorail system or just general pedestrian walkways to visit the various parks. You will definitely be able to start to see that multi-day, multi-park visit, as the accommodations start to come online.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a full day experience at Aquarabia and Six Flags. So many attractions at both places. I think was it 22 attractions in Aquarabia?
22, yes. And a lot of rides or attractions that you would not typically find at a water park, such as whitewater rafting and canyoneering. We've got surfing. There's slides and, of course, wave pool and lazy river, etc.
Yeah.
But I think there's really the full offering is something you would not have seen at a typical water theme park.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to ask, is there anything like Aquarabia in the world?
I don't think when you take all of the assets that we have on offer, the one thing that's really caught on, very popular in water parks, is the cabanas, right? And so when we started looking, originally the development team, they gave us the footprints. I think originally we may have had 100 cabanas in the park, but the footprint was a bit smaller, and I can still remember mapping it out on the floor with tape and sort of figuring out what size that room equates to, and is that comfortable for a family. And we opted for a larger space, but fewer. So we've got 81 cabanas. And when I say cabana, this is more like a hotel room.
Oh, yeah.
They're air conditioned, they're heated, they've got television, mobile ordering, loungers, and it's just a total, and they're very themed to the local architecture. And so when you're in the park, if you don't have a cabana, when you come in, if they're available, it's certainly, we see a lot of people upgrading to get into the cabana experience.
So you must have a lot of proud moments going back to those early days and seeing it through to the opening, and you're still there. So tell us about some of those achievements.
There's those milestones through any big project. So you have the concept, you get your final sign off on the concept, then when you start schematic, and you're working your way. They're really short-term wins as you make it through the design. And then I can still remember, finishing the 100% DD package and all of the comments, all of those operational disciplines involved working with the creative team, working with the architects to ensure not just that the park is designed and functions the best way possible, right, from a guest perspective, but also from an operations, back of house facilities, kitchen sizing, storage requirements for warehousing, maintenance facilities, and things like that. And I'm sure the team at Falcons appreciates the operational input during that phase, right, to kind of steer the path down the road. So you're halfway there. Now you need to make sure what was designed on paper actually gets built, and delivered as we designed it or the creative team envisioned it. So, as you start to see the park come together and really to the vision with incredibly low value engineering also from what we originally envisioned, right? I think your team would contest to that what we envisioned in the creative and the design phases really did make it to the final product. I give a lot of credit to, the managing director of Qiddiya City, Abdullah Al-Dawood, and the leadership to really stay the course, right? And make sure that the product is delivered, because really these two assets set the tone for literally a city, that's got a development plan into 2050. And so if you don't step off, with your first two assets and set the standard, that could obviously cause challenges, as you build some of these other parks.
Yeah, exactly. There must be a lot of pressure to get these two parks right. But it's so stunning. I don't think the pictures even do it justice. You just have to be there to experience it and see it with your own eyes.
Yeah, particularly at night. I mean, the lighting, it is beautiful. The sunset, there's just a lot of natural beauty. And then I think the parks really complement the surroundings day and night. And yeah, it is stunning. Nothing like I've seen.
For sure. So, Brian, your experience with Qiddiya goes way back to the beginning when we were in schematic design, early design phases, and then you get to see it with your own eyes on opening day. So tell us about that. What was that like?
Opening day is always filled with a lot of emotions. It's seeing, something come from nothing, from brownfield, as we call it, in the desert environment.
Yep.
And all of the challenges. And so when you get to opening day and you walk through the park and you can remember elements of design that we played with or we adjusted, and then, now when I walk through the entrance, I can play that time lapse, through my mind as I'm walking through the park. So for me, it's even more special. Some of our team would have only joined maybe a couple months, but still really put a ton of effort, to get us to that opening day. So it's a big celebration for all of the team, really.
Talking about celebration, there was a cake I saw in one of the pictures online. It looks like, I don't even know if it's icing. It looks like there's popcorn on the cake. The whole Camel Rock and all the rock structures were somehow represented with whatever that was, whatever food material that was. So I want to know all about this cake. There was a picture of you in front of the cake and like a lot of the staff at Aquarabia. Tell us about that cake in that moment.
Yes, that was our opening day. I want to have another celebration. I want to have a celebration of our 1-year anniversary, and I would love for the Falcons team to be there for that celebration. Unfortunately, because of the travel restrictions, in the region, it became challenging to have as big of a celebration, right, that we had for Six Flags at Aquarabia. So that was opening day, and our culinary team, who's amazing. They had been working on that cake for about a month and used fondant, right? So you can do a lot of sculpting with fondant, and basically did a replica of Camel Rock with all the various animals, indigenous animals, right, that you find in the 9 different zones around the park. And I think I heard about that cake only a day or two before, and so they kept it pretty much a secret.
Nice.
But it was extra special, to celebrate with the team there on opening day. And it's a testament to the skills of our culinary team. It's a whole nother level. Their goal is actually Ascent, which is our Indian fusion restaurant at the top of Camel Rock. Their goal is to achieve a Michelin star. And it is spectacular. And so it's definitely something that we're certainly proud of. And it was great that the team could show off their work there.
That would be a huge achievement to get a Michelin star in a theme park. I don't know if that exists anywhere.
I think there might be one. I'd have to look it up, but
Yeah.
definitely a high bar to set.
So on Experience Imagination, we like to pull back the curtain a little bit, let our listeners in, take a look behind the scenes. So what are some of the surprises around the park that guests might find? Maybe hidden gems?
I think in Aquarabia, the Camel Rock experience, it's not just an external mountain, right? It's an internal 4 attractions inside the restaurant, an 81-meter waterfall coming down from the top. So when you walk, there's 4 access points in and out of the mountain. We've got an interactive tunnel that takes you through different zones, and there's so various food and beverage and retail. So I think the level of theming, and as you explore the park, I think guests will just be, blown away. The theming level at Aquarabia is a whole nother level. Six Flags is obviously focused on a lot of the world record rides, that we have. 5 world record rides in one park is unbelievable. Falcon's Flight that, most people I think never thought would be built and operating. And I can look out my window and see it cycling right now with guests. So, I'm probably will ride it tonight.
All right. Can you hear the screams?
You can from some of the attractions. One of our world record rides sits behind me outside my window, and I can definitely hear the screams from guests. So I think guests will find their own nuggets as they explore the park, based on the level of interactivity and immersiveness that both parks have.
Yeah. Talking about the climate in the desert, obviously extremely hot, prone to sandstorms. There had to be certain things operationally that you had to consider. So touch upon that.
It was definitely something that operations, the maintenance teams were involved with, going back to even the original ride contracts with our ride vendors, things like making sure certain equipment would be able to withstand the extreme temperatures, building shelters over motors, so they don't overheat, doing everything that we could to prevent maintenance issues or ride reliability, with the various suppliers. And you will find some suppliers would say we can't perform to those conditions. So, you have to talk to different suppliers, or you have to make enhancements, like you said, to designs, being able to close up maintenance areas or roller shutters, over your maintenance bay areas to keep some of the dirt or some of the dust out, and other things like that. We did our ride commissioning. Most of our testing commissioning was in the summer of 25. So we wanted to put the test right in the worst and most extreme conditions, and to really put the rides through their paces, assuming that if we could make it through the peak of the summer, then we would have a very reliable product.
Yeah, one thing that a lot of people might be wondering about is water evaporation. It must happen, quicker, I would think, than in other parts of the world. How do you handle that?
So it's certainly with the arid, dry temperature here, and I think that's one thing that's a lot different than, say, working in Dubai, which is a very humid climate. And so, you get evaporation, which, we looked at underground holding tanks for a lot of the attractions at Aquarabia. You do have the advantage of building a park in 2023, 24, 25 period. So you're looking at the latest technology and efficiencies when it comes to BMS systems and pumps, et cetera, et cetera. But it is something, obviously, you have to combat year round. So I think you can prevent it as much as you can, and certainly designing a park today versus having a legacy product that might have older technology. So we use that to our advantage.
Yeah, for sure. So I want to ask about, your marketing strategy. So it's, we talked about it a little bit, but it's not ideal circumstances right now to open Aquarabia. Six Flags avoided it by opening in December, but we're not living in normal times. So what's your strategy now, and how do you think it'll change in the future?
When you look at these assets, they are at another level. They're not designed to be a regional water theme park or a regional amusement park. The level of investment, the quality, the vision of the entire destination, it will attract global visitors from around the world, and we know that already. And so I think right now, based on the current environment, we are more or less acting as a regional destination, right, for Aquarabia and Six Flags in the local market, which is still, 6-7 million residents in the Riyadh market. And it allows us to really get the team further developed, focused, taking customer feedback, tweaking things, adjusting operating hours, and really gradually building up, to the larger attendance numbers when you start to see more visitation come from the GCC or the Middle East region, and then eventually, China, Europe, India, North America, et cetera. So we're certainly using it as a way to, continue to develop the team and pivot and make adjustments throughout the year.
So tell us what else you're looking forward to about Qiddiya City.
I'm looking forward to our first F Formula One race. The racetrack is well under construction. The blade, which sits 20 stories above, I can look out my window and see it under construction. So when that race goes to the market and the global eyes on Qiddiya City, the racetrack runs right next to Aquarabia, right through Six Flags. Like I said, we have 6,000 hotel rooms just in the resort core that are already under construction, with 40,000 keys in the full build out. And like I said, the caliber of the assets that Qiddiya has on the books now, and has announced Dragon Ball, right?
Right.
Unbelievable theme park coming. It's just going to be year after year after year something new and bigger. And again, I think it's going to just continue to draw, not just from Saudi Arabia. It's going to be the region and global.
Yeah, so I have a question about technology. Our listeners are very interested in this aspect of any opening of a world-class theme park. How is technology utilized? How can guests use it to maximize their visit?
I know everyone always wants to have the fanciest mobile app, et cetera, and of course we have a great mobile app at Aquarabia and Six Flags, and I'm sure the other assets will as well as they come online. I don't want somebody really attached to their phone the whole time. And when they're in the app, I want them to be able to get what they need and make it very useful. I look at technology more behind the scenes that the customer may not realize. For example, we're using now with technology, we have a lot of cameras, right, in the parks, that you have security reasons and things like that. However, we're using them for footfall analytics. I can tell exactly how many people are in each zones of the park, which restaurants are getting more traffic. Maybe I'm going to talk to a partner and say that, I think we should do some promotion activities in this zone because we see that, 90% of our visitors walk by this, facade or walk through this area. I can literally turn on my monitor in my office and see every ride, queue time, dispatch, how many guests are on each ride. And really, so it allows us to, behind the scenes, operate the park more efficiently, which in turn makes it a better guest experience, right?
Definitely. Well, Brian, I don't want to take up any more of your time. You've already been really generous. I think our listeners got a lot out of this conversation like I did. We appreciate your time.
Thank you, Audrey.
Well, we hope you enjoyed our deep dive into the amazing Aquarabia water theme park. Thanks again to our own Andrew Tober, Eric Loperena, and Bruce Sereta. And a special thank you to Brian Machamer and Saroosh Shadid for taking the time to speak with us from Saudi Arabia. And thank you all so much for listening. We're going to take a little summertime break, so our next brand new episode will be in August. We'll see you then. Thank you for listening to Experience Imagination, a Falcon's Creative Group production. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the podcast. Be sure to check out falconscreativegroup.com and follow us on Instagram, X, Facebook, and LinkedIn. If you have ideas for future episodes or just want to drop us a message, send an email to podcast@falconscreativegroup.com.